Good evening. Of all the Rotarians, Rotary presidents, senior Rotary members, Rotaractors, members from the Academy of Finance, as well as the other community from the CIMA, ICMA, as well as all the other friends joining in the Zoom meeting. Gentlemen and ladies, these are one of the series of meetings, lectures we are conducting, and this is the third online. The today topic is Win the Battle and the War, Create a Winning Financial Plan. Today lecture is delivered by one of our great charter members, founder of Academy of Finance, Kapila Doramgoda. Further, this moment I warmly welcome our members from the Rotaract Central United, as well as the overseas Rotarians joining in Zoom, as well as the other members. I kindly hand over the podium to Vishwa to introduce this, our today our Kapila Doramgoda.
Vishwa, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Okay. Good evening, everyone. So let me introduce Kapila Doramgoda. So Kapila is a regional director of ICMA Sri Lanka and founder and managing director of the Academy of Finance Private Limited and a director of member of public and private company. So during his brief professional career, he's worked in Haley's as an engineer, Wanik Corporation in Trade Finance and Corporate Finance Division. Later, he's at the MS Holdings as well. He was worked as a general manager, overseas operation in Madagascar, Vietnam, and India. Kapila was also finance director of MS Investment and non-apparel investment holding companies of MS. There are a lot of
computer got crashed, and then you took it to a normal vendor. He says, sorry, this is beyond repair, right? You don't have a backup. Now you're counting the clock, right? You're waiting to see whether you can get your data recovered at all, whether you can get your data recovered, or whether what fragments of data that you're going to recover, because you need to start working from that point onwards. Now, why I tell you this is, if we take all of us now, every single human being on earth at this point of time, we are going through exactly a similar situation. Why? Just like your computer hard disk which has grown crash, now the entire world is going to reset, right? The entire world is going to reset, and we do not know at this moment where we are going to start our lives from. It could be the most powerful president on earth, or else it could be any powerful world leader who is controlling billions and trillions of dollars worth of economies. It can be a small country who is trying to protect their own population by imposing so many restrictions, limitations, or it can be a large corporate magnate anywhere in the world, or your company CEO, your manager, you and I. There is no difference. All of us are in the same situation because we are waiting and counting the clock to see where the world is going to reset. Having said that, I just want you to take a minute, rewind yourself 5 months back. Just go back to the month of December and how beautiful that time was, right? You had the year end coming in, and all of us are having a good time. Some of us getting bonuses, the increments, and then you're planning to go on holidays. Those who are abroad, they're coming back for their holidays. and then you are arranging all the parties, the Christmas, New Year Eve, and we have all fantastic time. And we started the year 2020, right? And we had all the fun, and then we are starting the new year with a lot of hopes. Some of us are want to change our phones, buy new computers, change our vehicles, buy new cars, buy a new bike, or move into a new house, buy a land, right? There are so many things that we want to do at that point of time, right? And again, with this, and just start thinking, now your last day at work, just think of the last day that you were at work, right? Can you remember how the day started? Probably the day before, you would have had a long day with a lot of work, and then you would have gone to bed a bit late, right? And then you kept the alarm early in the morning, the alarm rings, right? You really don't want to get up because you just want to be in the bed for a while, but it's not possible. Yes, you have to go and start working, right? You get up in the morning, you have all the morning rituals, rush, and then get the kids ready for the school, everything that you do, and then you go to the work. And lots of traffic on the road, and you get further irritated, and you do everything that you do on your way, and then you go back to the office. And you go to the office and you start your working. So you shift from one meeting to the other, the phone rings, and so many emails and so many calls, and then everything happens, and you go, and you don't have even time to have a proper lunch or a breakfast. And then that's the way you start the work, and that's the way that you're going to end the work. And then what happens? Probably still your day is not over, because you have so many other things. You may have your social commitments, and you go and you meet all these commitments. And when you come back home, probably just before you go to your bed, and you may still realize that, yes, still there is some email that you have not replied. So you go all through all that, and then again you go to bed. And that is the way that life goes on. Everything is happening so fast, right? Because everything, the world is changing so fast, and there are so many things that are happening every minute. So you have to run fast, and unless you run this fast, and you will be left behind. So to be part of that, you have to go through that race. And then what happened? 2 months ago, all of a sudden, everything changed. Everything changed. Now what happened? The first started running slow motion. You get up in the morning, no rush to go to the work, just the same way that you used to, right? And you know there's no rush to go to the work just like that, and you don't have the same morning ritual. And then you get up in the morning, your phone is not going to ring the same way that it used to ring. Of course, now the things may have changed, but now everything has started to happening slow motion. Everything's happening slow motion. And some of us start wondering now, isn't this even a better way to run the life rather than the hectic life that we are running? And then we were doing, sometimes we realized that there were lots of things that you have within, probably within your house. You open your windows, probably you would have had beautiful flowers. You would have seen nice birds outside hanging around the house, but you may not have had the opportunity, the time to see that, right? You get out, of course, to a rooftop, open the window, get into the balcony. The sky is so beautiful, but you may probably not have had the time to look at all that. And you look inside, and then probably you will see probably a little kid may have been irritating all the time, but not because that he or she was so bad, but they were looking for the attention. So everything is changing. So this is what I started seeing. This is just outside the window. When you open up, probably things that I probably didn't see the same way a couple of months back. And this is the little beauty I saw inside when I had the little time to spend time. Not only that, you would have seen the city of Colombo is so beautiful, right? Yeah, just you can see the sky is without the smoke and without the smoke and the dust. So the sky is so beautiful, and the roads without the polythene, and the people and the vehicles on the road with flowers, and the roads are so beautiful. So there is a different perspective of life that we see as well. Having said that, but that's all that is there. But now the situation is different. Everything has changed. Now we are in the battlefield, right? We are in the battlefield, wherever it is, whether from different perspective, whatever the perspective that you look at, we are in a battlefield because we are fighting a battle, right? At the same time, we are fighting a battle, and there are a lot of complexities, complications, and we can't see very much far away, right? We can see only a very short distance in this battlefield, but however, we have a lot of problems, and we need to find the solutions to get out of the crisis. And then once we get out of the crisis, how we are going to continue our lives in the normal way. And it has made more intense because as individuals, either we are professionals who are working in organizations or you're entrepreneurs who are running your own businesses. But whatever the way you see, the businesses are undergoing a lot of pressures. At the same time, the companies, big or small, lots of companies have undergone different salary cuts, the job cuts. So everything is happening. So people are undergoing a lot of pressure. And you see financial pressures happening, coming up everywhere. So you are in a better battlefield, real battlefield, and you need to get out of this, and you need to find a solution to get out of this. Having said that, when you get onto this process, there is one thing that you need to keep in your mind is, as an individual, when you are going to respond to this scenario, you need to figure out you are going to respond and what type of person that you are going to respond to this situation as. Because there are certain people, probably you get up in the morning, you take your phone, you put on the TV and try and search and try to find everything negative about what someone says, what anyone says about what is happening in the corona, right? And you try to look for the negative information. Not only that, you are not happy unless you share this negativity with everybody else. So there are people like that. And not only that, and these people, they get irritated very easily. They get very irritated very easily. They go and they panic on various things. And not only that, now these people will always be looking at someone to find fault with that. It may be the president of the United States or the head of China, or it may be the whatever the head of Sri Lanka, or your company boss, your husband, wife, or even the neighbor's dog may be the person who is wrong with the situation that is in. So if there are people like this, there can be some people like this occasionally. These are the people who operate in a fear zone. If there is a person like this, that is a person who is operating in a fear zone. However, there are people who have started to gain control. There are people who started to get control. And now these people, if that is a type of person, then that is a person who has stopped consuming everything that comes your way. It may be the negative news. You stop consuming the negativity of that. It may be the food that you get. It may be what you have, what is offered for a drink. Whatever it is, you stop consuming the negativity in what comes your way, but you start consuming the positivity of everything that comes in, right? Not only that, these people, you figure out a way, you do a program and trying to figure out a way how best you can spend your time during this time, right? And also they realize that it is not somebody's fault. Everybody is doing something good, right? Something positive to get out of this cycle, this situation, but still now it is continuing. So then these are the people who start looking for opportunity. And if you are a person like that, so then you're a person who is operating in the learning zone, right? And there can be a third category of people who think not only that you go one step further, not only that you think of yourself, but you start thinking the others as well. And how can I be? There are so many people who are suffering out of this. And then is there any way that I can be a help to these people, right? And now these people have a very clear picture of, say, thinking that what is going to happen, and you're not operating as if you are in between your this birth and the next birth, but you're consciously taking action. At the same time, you are appreciative and be grateful of what is happening around. So then if you are a person like that, so then you're a person who's in the growth zone. It is very, very important. Just take a moment to think and then realize, just try to understand what sort of a person are you in responding to a situation. Because whatever that is happening outside your control is beyond your control. But how we are going to respond to this situation is totally within your control. So if you feel that you're a person who is within the fear zone, try to get into the learning zone. And if you feel that you are a person who is operating within the learning zone, then try to get into the growth zone. So that's the first thing that you have to decide, because it is all in your hand. Having said that, now we have looked at that. Yes, now we identified that yes, there's a battle that is happening, and then we all are financially in somehow or the other, either now or you are going to get financially strained, right, constrained, but still now we need to find a solution. We need to find a solution, and we need to find a mechanism of trying to get out of this situation. So having said that, now let me invite you to start thinking in a different direction, right? Yes, now we are going through a difficult period. We may have financial limitations that may come our way, right? But then we need to find a solution financially, but at the same time, we need to find a solution without compromising our financial well-being. Right? We need to find a solution without compromising our financial well-being. So when you say financial well-being, is not necessarily being wealthy. So being wealthy is having a lot of assets, and you might think, okay, the financial well-being is having a lot of money in your bank accounts, having a lot of assets. No, financial well-being is not that. Financial well-being is being fulfilled and content with what you have. It's all about being fulfilled and content with what you have in your life. It is to do with aligning your lifestyles with the finances that you have. That's the important thing to start beginning, because we go through difficulties. Now we need to make corrections, but then it's all about finding a solution to get out of this, but without compromising financial well-being. And also, I just like to share with you this, what I saw on the internet. It says that one of the biggest lessons that the lockdown has given us is cost of living is not really expensive, but it is the cost of lifestyle which is expensive. Right? It's something to think about that. But having said that, yes, now we need to find a solution without compromising our financial well-being. But in this exercise, we need to realize that what we need from what you need from me to me, right? What you need from your life is very, very unique to you, and it is not definitely, and it may be unique to you and your family and your loved ones, but it is not dependent on what your neighbor is doing, or what your colleague in the office who is always changing his phone or car, whatever is doing, or one of your relatives is doing, or wife's cousin or someone else is going to do, or what your boss is doing. There is nothing to do with that. It is all about what you need in your life, because that is the most important thing. That is the most important positioning that you need to start thinking. Because again, we must iterate that it's being rich is not the same as being wealthy. Right? Being rich is not the same as having a lot of assets, not being wealthy. Right? Richness is something that you should actually, that is something that you should feel in your heart. Right? It may be a person who is so rich, who has so much of assets you have, and always thinking of something that you don't have, and always putting all the energy to find out what you don't have, then that is a person who may be wealthy, but that is a person who is not going to be rich, right? So therefore, the one important thing that you need to realize is in this journey, it is very important that how you learn how to feel rich and not just merely wealthy. Why? Again, we are trying to find a solution when we are financially constrained, and our point is that we need to find a solution without compromising our financial well-being, right? We need to find a solution without compromising. Then comes the point, how do most of us achieve financial well-being? How do most of us find our financial well-being? And it is most of the time, it is related to our career well-being, because all of us, either as a job or as an entrepreneur, we have some sort of a career. That is what is going to give us assets, and that is going to ensure us financial well-being. But however, we need to ensure that yes, to achieve our financial well-being, we engage in our career, but then we should also ensure that we have our career well-being. We should be doing a job that we would like to do. We would like enjoy doing, and which we feel that you are contributing something, and that is a job that will help you to achieve career well-being. So therefore, we should have financial well-being without compromising on our career well-being. Let us say you have a job which pays you well, and you feel happy about your job, what you are doing. But however, if you are not healthy, if you don't have your physical well-being, if you don't have your physical well-being, then again, your career well-being and the financial well-being is meaningless. Because all the effort that you put in accumulating your wealth, and at one point you're going to lose if you don't have the proper wealth. So therefore, it is important that you have the time to choose and take the proper food, and you engage in the physical activities. So we need to achieve the rest of the well-being without compromising on our physical well-being. And let's say we do all that, and you're so conscious about that, our physique, and then what we do. But at the same time, a man is a social animal. So we have all of that. But unless we are a part of this, sometimes some of us, sometimes we have dreams, like we want to have a place, where a nice place by the mountain or by a river, and a very quiet place that you want to live, and without all the hassle. But you don't do that. You come to a city, into a house or an apartment, in a congested area, we start living. Why? Because we are social animals, and we need to have this social interaction. So therefore, then you need to ensure that yes, you have your social well-being as well. You need to have your social well-being. Not only that you're socially connected, but also you are part of the community. So that is your community well-being. So why? This is why we are taking it like this. Is yes, we are facing financial constraints, and we need to get out of this financial constraint. But when you do that, we should ensure that we have financial well-being without compromising our career well-being, and that without compromising our physical well-being, and without compromising our social well-being, and that without compromising the community well-being, because it is the holistic well-being that we look at. Having said that, let's take one step further. Why do we all that? Why do we need to achieve all this? Because now most of us, if you ask that question, that is because we want to be happy and living longer. Most of us, why we go through all this in our life, we want to be happy, and we should be living, we want to live longer. And of course, now there is a research that has been done many years back, and they had wanted to find the people who are the happiest and the longest living on earth. When we are going through this exercise, now actually they have found there were 6 regions in the world where they found the happiest and the longest living people on earth. Now the regions, and one of the region where they have found the most happiest and the longest living people is the area called Okinawa in Japan, right? And you know what they have found. Now they say these people have found what they really love in their life and what they're really good at doing, which means they have found their passion. And they all found that the area where they love and what the world needs, so which means they have found their mission in their lives. And if they find that what they are good at it and what they are going to get paid for, what they are good at it and what they are going to get paid for, that they found their profession in their lives, and what the world needs and what they are going to be paid for, that is the vocation they are like. So now if someone can find all of the point, the little area where all of them converge, that is called their ikigai. So the main reason they found is these are the people who have found their ikigai, right? So therefore it is time to think, right? That is why I said, yes, we have battle, we need to win the battle, but at the same time, these are war. Because if you find different scattered solution without finding ultimately where you want to go, then you may win the battle, but you are not going to win the war. So this discussion is all about how we are going to win the war, and not just stop by winning the battle and then losing the war. Just having said that, before we move on to the rest of the discussion, I just want to spend 5 minutes before you go to bed today. Just take a couple of minutes and note down. Just write down 5 things that you'd like to do to make you happy. Just note down 5 things that we would like to do to make you happy. Okay. And then the next thing is that also note down 5 things that you'd like to do, but currently due to some reason you don't do. For whatever the reason, you don't do. So 5 things that you'd like to do in your life to make you happy. That's number 1. and then the 5 things that you'd like to do, but due to some reason, what you don't do at the moment. Just take a couple of minutes, not now, but before you go to bed today, and then that will be a good starting point for you to start. Now you have to go through the reverse thinking, right? That thinking you will do it like the purpose, and then this well-beings, and then you go to the, you have to find a solution. So let's leave it for time. Now we need to get into action, right? Now, having said all that, discussed all that is fine, but now we have here, now we say, now there is a problem that all of us are facing, and there are financial constraints that you are facing. So now we need to take action, and we need to get out of this situation, especially financial. Now what I want you all to do is, now if you feel that we need to put some sort of a financial plan, so number one is a starting point. We need to make an assessment of where we stand, right? We need to make an assessment of where we stand. So when you say where you stand, now financially, we may be having certain things, the payment that would have already made due to some reason which you couldn't make. It may be some loan installment that is outstanding, some credit card balance, or some lease or hire purchase scheme, some installment scheme, whatever it is. If there were any liabilities, any payment that you have not made at the moment, just make a list of all these payments, because it is important. If there are any urgent payments, we need to make these urgent payments before it is going to have an impact. Also, you need to go and then just say, wherever possible, if there are certain concessions that you can get, just then see what are the concessions that you get. And if there are service providers, some tenants, some landlords, some banks, if you can come to some terms with, and then go and find that, because it is important that how you manage the immediate situation before you move with any action. And then comes the point where to meet this, what are the assets that you will have? How much cash that you have in your hand, how much money you have in your current account, how much money in your savings account, your salary, all the other receivables. So you make an assessment of what is the amount of immediate cash or cash equivalent that you will have. So then that will give an idea what are the liabilities that you have, the commitments that you need to meet, and what are the things that you have to support that. It is important, but it is very, very important to keep in your mind all the cash you have in your hand. It is very important that you safeguard them. You need to spend on something only if it is really, really necessary to spend. If not, you should not be wasting your resources. That is the first thing. So you are going to make an assessment, because no plan can succeed unless you start making an assessment of where you stand. So that is the starting point. And then what you need to do is, we need to make an assessment of where we spend our money, right? Because we all work hard, whatever the profession, business we are in, we all work hard, we take a lot of efforts. And why we do this is, the first point is that for our living, and we need to have an idea, what are we spending this money on, right? We need to have an idea on what we are spending our money on. So this may be something that none of you had bothered, never ever had the reason to go through and spend time, but at least once in your life, it is quite worthwhile you spend a couple of minutes in doing that. So what we want to do is just take a piece of paper later and list down all the different expenses that you make, right? Just an average what you have been doing in the last couple of months, and put them into 5 different categories. So put them into 5 different categories. 5 different categories is, first identify all the expenses that is related to your housing, right? Put down all the expenses related to your housing, and which could include which could include your house rent. It can be your electricity, water, gas, all the other expenses which is related to your houses, and then TV, satellite, broadband, all the expenses, your telephone bills, your mobile bills, your house maintenance, housekeeping, gardening, everything, whatever that is related to house and housing. So that will be the first pool of expenses that you're going to list. That's number one. And then you come to the second pool of expenses, with all the family related expenses that you're going to list down. So which could have your groceries and vegetables, your clothing, the nurseries and the childcare for the small kids, and then the school fees and the higher education, grown-up kids, or your own education, and then your pets and the pets, whatever the medicines that you spend on them, and then the CDs, the subscriptions, and then all the birthdays, the festivals, the charities, the weddings, and the funerals that you have. These are all different family related expenses. So that is the second pool of expenses that you're going to have. So the first pool of expenses is all your housing related expenses. And then the second pool of related expenses are all the family related expenses. And then you come with the third category. This is all to do with your commuting and the traveling and the transport. You're maintaining a vehicle, your petrol or the diesel cost, your vehicle insurance cost, your servicing and the maintenance cost, the repairs cost, the staff transport and vans. If there's someone who is in the family using that, how much this cost you, your driver, and if you are using Ubers and the taxis, so then how much you're spending on that, and then how much you're spending on public transport, those who family members who use that, whatever it is. So you just make a list of all the expenses that you are incurring with regard to traveling, vehicle, and transport. That is the third category. And then comes the fourth category, everything else that is related to your medical, leisure, and entertainment. Whatever that is related to medical, leisure, and entertainment, which will include your medical expenses, your opticians, your dentists, the sports, hobbies, holidays, foreign travel, entertainment, the movies, eating out, personal care, whatever that you're spending on these other things, the medical, leisure, and entertainment related expenses, you put into the fourth pool. So we have 4 pools. What were those? The first, your housing related expenses, and then our family related expenses, and number 3, our vehicle, transport, and commuting related expenses, and then finally, we had all the medical, leisure, and entertainment related expenses. We are collecting all the expenses in 4 different pools, right? And then once you do that, there is another category that is going to be coming up separately. We need to make an assessment of how much you're spending on your loans, right? Because as individual, lots of us, we have different types of loans due to various reasons. It is also important that we take an assessment, take a stock of all the loans and the financial commitments that you have, right? Now, these financial commitments could include your housing loan, and most of us may be having housing loan, and vehicle loans and vehicle leases, or whatever the financing facilities related to your vehicles, right? And then personal loans for various consumption purposes, the education loans for you, for your children, and some have pawning facilities, installment schemes, credit card installments, means all the loan related expenses you are having separately. Why we want to put them into 5 different pool is because what you can do with loans is not necessarily the same that you can do with your day-to-day expenses. So now we have 5 pools of expenses. Again, you may not have done this before in your life, but just take 10 minutes to do this exercise. That is going to be useful. And once you do that, on the other hand, then we need to make a projection of what our income is going to be. We are going to make a projection of what our income is going to be. So that could have whatever the salaries that we are getting. If you are an employed person, how much salary we are going to get, and then how much of commissions and the incentives that you are going to get, right? And then the properties and property related expense incomes and the rentals or the lease incomes that you are going to get, and those who have whatever the investment, the profit shares, the dividends that you are going to get, and then the investment incomes, all the incomes that you are going to get. Just make a list of all of that, because your expenses have to be met with all the incomes that you are going to get out of these different sources. So once you do that, now we are going to, you can do a simple calculation. So number 1, you will have a collection of all the monthly incomes that you will have. That is your monthly income flow, right? And thereafter, you will see net of all the other expenses before making the loans. The first 4 pools of expenses from your income, if you make all the other expenses, how much is the surplus that you have in your hand, right? And then the next step is that from that, you make deduction of all the other expenses with regard to your loans and everything, and then you see how much you have in your hand, because this is what you will be having month on month, every month, and to meet your requirement, right? So that when you do it, you will have a fairly good idea on what you have been spending in your money, because that is the planning point for the next stage. So where did we start? We make an assessment. We made an assessment of our immediate financial positions, our loans and the liabilities or income, and then what are our monthly incomes and expenditure. And before moving on, later on you can also put together a schedule to see that what are the different types of loans you have, maybe housing loans, vehicle loans, personal loans, installment loans, all of those loans, how much was the amount that you originally borrowed, and how much is the money, how much is outstanding as of now. Right? So you make a schedule of all the loans, because in the medium term, you should be looking at, depending on how your income stream is going to change, how we are going to make this loan adjustments and how you're going to meet the loan obligation. So that is what you're going to do. And then occasionally there can be some who have little financial difficulties, and then they can look at, okay, what is the fallback option? If there are a fallback option, brothers and sisters, the parents, relatives, the friends, whatever, there may be different people who's going to help in this perspective. So then what is the fallback option? So now that is what this is where we are. So now what did we do? Now we are in a good position to make our plan, right? We are in a good position to make our plan where we stand, and then what are our inflows and outflows. And then this is what we need to plan. Of course, in this planning exercise, it is very, very important to keep this in mind, because now we are in a battle, we are fighting a battle, and there are lots of uncertainties ahead, and we do not know what is going to happen in the future. We do not know what is going to happen in the future, but the only thing that you can do is doing the best at this moment. The only thing that you can do is doing the right thing, the best thing at the moment. If you keep doing the best thing at the moment, we are sure that we will be best positioned, we will be in the best position to face the next moment. So that is the thinking that we need to have. But whatever that you are thinking, it is very, very important that you take action, because it's always said that imperfect action is always better than perfect inaction. So then, having said all that, yes, what is important is you need to realize what sort of person you are going to be, whether fear zone or the growth zone or whatever the zone, how we are going to respond. But action is very, very important rather than inaction. So when you start thinking of going ahead with this action, these are the couple of things that we can start thinking of based on what we have done, right? Number one, we've looked at already. We said we are going to make an assessment of your immediate cash requirements assessment. And then we said we will do an income and expenditure plan. We already done that. And once you do that, what I want you to do is think of a situation where if you feel that you're going to be mildly pressurized with your finances, right? How do we come up with a 20% reduction in your expenses? Whether it is possible for you to come up with a 20% reduction in your expenses, and someone who feels that there's going to be serious financial crisis, I'm sure that is not going to happen to any of you, but if that is, just say, if you have to go through a 50% reduction of expenses, then what is the type of action that you can take, right? So this is something that we can think of, and we come to that. And then also what we can do is we can have some sort of a plan for the next couple of months, what we are going to do, your future, as well as then in terms of your loans, what your position is. Now, these are the areas that we are going to consider when we take action. Now, then having said that, it is very easy to say that, yes, come up with this reduction, but it is very, very important. Like the people are already struggling to run their lives with their income, but how do you think of to cut down your expenses? Now, one thing we need to think is, when you think of, if you want to rationalize, but one again, some of you might think, no, I'm sure I'm not going to have any difficulties. I'm going to be fantastic, whatever the things that are going to happen, I'm not going to be having problem. So even if you feel that way, but still think whether you can plan for some 20%, some reduction in your expenses, because it may be not be your need, but if you really save that, just save it for your kids, right? Or else if you even if your kids don't know that, just save something and give it to the people who are in need. So therefore, we need to start thinking and rationalizing the way that we are spending. And when we want to start cutting down things, what you need to first keep on doing is you need to cut down on things that brings you stress, and you should not cut down on things that brings happiness to you. Okay. What are the things that bring stress to you? If you really think of, it is not the most necessary basic thing that brings us stress, but it is the additional thing that we try to do in our lives. That is what is going to bring us stress, right? It may be some people, depending on your income level, it may be the phones that you're going to upgrade all the time, or it may be the cars that you're going to upgrade or change all the time, or it may be the lands or the houses that you're going to build that is going to put you on pressures. Most of the time, these physical assets that you try to bring and acquire, those are the things that will bring stress to you. Yes, we need those things, but at the same time, it is well researched that whatever that happiness that you derive by achieving these physical assets is not going to be permanent. All the happiness, you may be very happy the moment you acquire that, but after a while, that happiness will dwindle. But however, there are certain things that you do in your life, especially the things that you do, the experiences that you do, the things that you can remember and enjoy, those are the things that you should be doing. Those are the things that brings happiness. So try to do, if you want to cut down, the first thing is try to cut down on things that bring stress to you. The next thing is that now we have figured out, probably within the last 2 months, so many things that we thought we could not live without, we have been living, and we have absolutely had no problem. Of course, on certain things you would have got irritated, but lots of things that you thought that you could never live without, now you could do that, and you are not worried at all, right? So because now we are realizing that it is the most basic needs are actually anyway that you can meet, and those are the most important things. So if you have heard of this Maslow's hierarchy, so you know the basic thing, the physiological needs, your food and all, whatever, water, your safety, your love, belongingness, these things in your life are not going to cost you much. Actually, what is going to cost you more is what you do in the higher level. That is where you are going to get stressed and more. So therefore, it is very important to think, if you want to rationalize, where you start rationalizing that process. And of course, I found this thing when I was on the internet. It is funny how the entire world is about to collapse because people are buying only what is absolutely needed. So if you take a couple of months, most of the people, they are doing what is absolutely necessary needed to run their basic lives. What they need, you keep buying. But the global economies are collapsing because the global economies are built not because based on the things that we need to run our basic lives, but all the other things, additional things around which our lives have been built up. So therefore, this is the starting point to think. And then comes the point where, yes, it is very easy to say just rationalize, but those who feel financial pressure, how to start rationalizing. And I will give you a very simple tool. What you need to do is, initially we said you're going to list down all the expenses that you're going to incur under 5 different pools, including the loans. And the next exercise that I want you all to do is now take this entire list of items, and then you will figure out there are certain expenses that are unavoidable under all the circumstances. These expenses, there is no way that you can cut down. So just tick off those expenses because those expenses are going to be there as it is, right? So just leave all these expenses, unavoidable expenses, number one. And then the next thing that you need to do is, there are certain expenses, yes, they are not really unavoidable, but there is certain amount of reduction is possible. Maybe 5%, 10%, 15% reduction is possible. So then as a next step, you need to figure out the expenses where you can have a minor reduction in your expenses. That is the second category. And once you go through these 2 stages, and then we come to the third category, there can be some expenses where a substantial reduction is possible, right? There can be a substantial reduction is possible. So then tick down the expenses where you can have a substantial reduction and put the percentage to see, and what is the percentage that is needed. And of course, you'll be surprised to see when you go through this exercise, still there are expenses that probably you can 100% cut down. So there are things that you can 100% cut down. So once you have this in your face, this is the tool, this is what you're going to use for all your rationalization. This is going to be very handy, but at the same time, when you take your loans also, just go through the same scenario. You go through the same scenario, there are certain loans, the no lenders, they are not going to give you any concession. And there are some loans where you can get some mild concession, right? And certain loans where you get reasonable concession. And of course, lots of banks are offering certain concessions. There are grace periods for interest, capital, everything. So if you have that, just see what is you're going to do. That when you go through this exercise, you will see you had a point, you have one column, what are all the expenses? And then if you're planning ahead with 10% or 20%, what are the expenses that you need to attack to? And then what is the level that you're going to end up with? That is the next thing that you can. Of course, I have not shown in this slide. At the same time, we need to do with our income as well, because whatever the income, sometimes there may be adjustment in your salary, and you may be using your incentives, the bonuses, all the other overtime incomes. And then if you have other incomes, like if you have got a rental income, you're not going to receive it in the same way. If you are getting a vehicle on lease or a rent, then you may not be getting the same thing. And if you have profit share, you may not be getting the same profit share. So that is going to happen to income as well. But when you do that, so then that will put you in a holistic situation of how you can, what is going to happen to your expenses and how you can manage that, and what is going to happen to your income, and now you match your income, the reduced income versus reduced expenses, if that is going to happen. And if it is not going to happen, save something, whatever that you save in terms of your cost, put into a saving or give it to someone who is in need. Just having said that, so now we are in the process of looking at action. Another thing is sometimes now when you are pressurized, there are some of us who is going to share, who will be sharing the pressure with the others, right? Because you are not living in isolation, you're living with your family. You're living with your family. So therefore, it is not only you who can take action if you're financially constrained. So the entire family, all the family members can take some sort of an action in getting out of this situation. So therefore, it is very, very important for everybody to get together and just tell everybody, this is the situation that is going to happen. Keep everybody informed, and then you will know how to, everybody will figure out, okay, this is my role, this is what I can do, this is how I can contribute, so that as a single person, you're not going to stretch, so you're going to take a solution collectively as a pool of family members. That's the next thing that you're going to do. Having said that, now we need to look at further, right? I said you can do, put various percentages, but when you try to take action, what are the things that you can do? Be specific. Now, one set of things that we can do is sometimes we are planning for major purchases. Right? When you say major purchases, it could depend on each individual to individual. It may be changing your furniture, it may be buying a new phone, it may be buying a new computer, or it can be changing a car, or buying a new car, buying a new motorbike, buying a new bike, or it may be shifting to a bigger house, buying a new land, buying the second house, whatever it is. So there are major purchases that we plan. So if there were any major purchases that you planned for this year, don't be in a big hurry. Unless you really need it, don't be in a big hurry. Just try to delay it for a while. That's the number one. Whatever the major purchases, major expenses, just try to delay it for a while. Take a break. Certain things you should be able to buy cheaper as well. That's number one. Number two, all of us are used to different lifestyles, right? All of us are used to different lifestyles. But however, in certain instances, our lifestyles are not so expensive, but we like them. But certain aspects of our lifestyles can be very expensive. So the next thing that you can think of is, what are the changes that we can make to our lifestyle, right? That still certain changes will not make a big difference in your quality of life. So whatever the lifestyle changes that you can do without making a big difference in your lifestyle, why not do that? Right? That is the second thing that you can do. Thirdly, and some of us are very passionate about the brands that we consume, right? From what we eat to what we wear to where we go, and whatever that you do, there are some of us who are very, very conscious about the brand name. But just think through, unless it is really important, some important medicine, health-related things, something food-related things, the brand names are not necessarily very important. And you would have realized during the past couple of months, actually, even without some of these brands, exclusive brands that you have been consuming, you still been doing good, right? So therefore, just try to think. So brand names are not always important. Just cut down on those things unless it is really needed. And also, where you shop doesn't either matter either, right? So sometimes they are very particular about where we go and where do our shopping. But where you shop also doesn't matter. And you would have realized during the crisis, it is not you take the simple supermarket. It's not the big names and the big supermarket that came to your help, right? Their websites are not working. Therefore, they were not picking the phones, right? It was the small grocer or the small vendor, fishmonger who has helped you, right? So wherever it is, just think, okay, so brands are not necessarily important in all perspectives. At the same time, where you shop also doesn't really matter, right? That's another thing that you need to look at. You can make changes. And another very important thing is we are always, when it comes to especially our food related things, we're always thinking of high price processed food, right? Now, again, something that is important, sometimes this pricey food that we consume, they are not rich in nutrition and they are not rich in health as well. And then that's not really needed, right? They are really tasteful though, but actually, so what is important is always what you need to realize is goodness of nature is always cheaper, right? It is always more nutritious and it is always more healthy. So therefore, just think of when you eat, just think of the nature always, the natural food will always be good. And also try without some luxuries and life is still beautiful. So the luxuries that you're used to, probably just try to do without some of these things, that is not going to be a problem at all. And then another very, very important thing, right? That is nothing other than your credit card, right? There are lots of people, credit card is part and parcel of your life, and then you can't live without credit card. But please remember, if you have financial limitation, using credit cards is not the solution that you have to come up with, right? Whatever the possible way, start limiting using your credit card, and then unless you really need it in an emergency situation, you may use it. But if not, just forget about your credit card, right? And there are lots of research that will say, actually not one research, there are several researchers, but will say, if you spend using your credit card, on average, typical person tend to spend at least 30% more than what you would spend when you're using your cash. Obviously, when you use your cash, you take your pocket, you taste the cash, touch the cash, feel it, and when you pay it, and you may be not be spending the same thing because you're conscious what you're spending. So therefore, credit card is not a solution, and then try to do away with that. And then just if you really think of, and this is something very important to think, if you really realize, what do we do with credit cards? Most of the time, you are using the money that you don't have with the credit card, right? You're using the money that you don't have, and probably you realize most of the time you're buying the things that you don't necessarily need, right? You're using the money that you don't have to buy the things that you don't really need in your life. And if you think of why we do this, probably to impress the people whom you don't really like, right? So there are lots of things behind that. So therefore, that is one thing that you need to forget about that. And also, sometimes we are used to do certain things in a particular way, but just because we are used to do certain things in a particular way, it is not necessarily mean that we should keep doing things in the same way, either we as individuals or our kids or our families. So there are certain things, don't take anything for granted. Like we are going through a crisis. This is the worst situation that the world economy is facing after 1930 depression. But if you take the entire world, there has been not a single event for the past century. Probably the entire world is affected to this magnitude. So therefore, just you need to make certain changes. Having said that, so sometimes we may have to rethink our driver mails if you're financially constrained, right? And especially the ladies, we are always very thoughtful about how we appear. Of course, we should look nice to look attractive when you go out. But at the same time, we also can simplify a beauty regime, right? You still can look beautiful, but probably not spending the same amount of money. Just try to think of those things as well. And then just think of your home front, your air conditioners, your geysers, your heaters, your extra light, all those things, right? All those things, you can do some saving. Not only that, all those things when we use unnecessarily, we are using them what belongs to the future generation. It is not only helping you to get out of the crisis, but we are saving all what these resources for future generations. So we owe it for us to do it. And then, of course, few other things. You can probably take your own lunch. Again, it is healthier, right? It will be a lot healthier, and you can make your own coffee. And as guys, we used to sometimes go and have drinks, and when you do that, probably you don't necessarily do. You can do the same thing, but you may not have to spend your money on pricey drinks, right? So these are something that we can do in terms of your rationalization that we're trying to do. Now, having said that, so when you go through this discussion, why we went through all this discussion is now some of you feel that, yes, this is really for me. I'm really financially constrained. Yes, I'm going to do, and I'm going to seriously look at the solution. I'm going to rationalize my expenses. But some others might think, no, this is very thing for me. What's the point in trying to waste my time and trying to spend 10 minutes? Anyway, I have a lot of money. But don't think about it like that. Why? Because when you take different crises, there are certain crises that we see which will be 1 hour crisis. There are certain crises that is going to be end up in 1 hour, right? Probably a power cut. There are some crises probably which will end up in 1 day, right? It's not going to continue more than 1 day. But there are some other crises which will continue for 1 week even. And there are certain other crises which could even go beyond that, which can continue for 1 month, and beyond 1 month, and it can even go to a quarter. But when you take this crisis that we are going through, can anyone of say how long this is going to continue? I'm not saying the health part of it, but the rest of it, nobody can say. Definitely, it is not a 1 year crisis, but it is going to be prolonged for a longer period, the financial impact of it. So therefore, don't just think that it is not going to affect me. It is going to affect all of us. So therefore, we need to figure out this, and we need to figure out a good solution. Having said that, I would like to share this with you. And this is a research that has been done by the Harvard University. And this research they have done in 2009, just after the 2009 financial crisis, right? And if you see this, now on this axis, you will be having different years. And this vertical axis, they see their GDP. And if you take this country, this particular graph is about Canada. And you can see this pink line is what was happening to the Canadian economy before the crisis. And this is 2009 financial crisis, what happened. And this is what is happening after the crisis, right? What can you see with Canada? Yes, they were kind of growing like this. And there was a temporary drop. But just after a temporary drop, they're catching up. There was just like a V notch, there was a drop and it is catching up. But now after the crisis, 10 years later, they are still maintaining the same momentum. Their economy had a temporary effect only, but they're growing as it used to be. This is what happened in Canada. And let me show you what has happened in US in 2009. So this is what has happened in the US. See, this is how the US economy has been growing, but in the financial crisis, they have dropped, but then they have just dropped it, started dropping, but they've taken a U-turn and they're again growing, right? Even though there was a permanent drop, still they were growing at a particular pace like this. And now also with a dip, they have taken a U-turn. Now they are growing at the same rate. So therefore, even though there are a permanent drop in their output, but they are still maintaining the same momentum. So this is what has happened to US. And then this is the third country. This is what has happened to Greece. See now what has happened to Greece. They were just maintaining momentum like this. And after the crisis, they have started dropping. But that drop has continued to more than 3 to 4 years. It has been dropping continuously like this. But now what you see is even 10 years after the crisis, still they have not come to the level where they were in 20 years before. Right? This is where we were. So this is we call L-shaped curve. Why this is important to us is now when you take this crisis, like we said, it is not a 1 year crisis. It is definitely going to be more than 1 year. We do not know, including our country, which type of curve these countries are going to go through, right? Which type of curve, whether global economy and these countries, which type of curve that you're going to go. Is it important to us? Yes, because you may be having as companies, you may be doing businesses with customers from these countries. We don't know how these countries are going to recover, right? And you may be importing things from these countries. Your suppliers may be there and your customers may be there. So therefore effective. That is what is going to happen. So therefore, we don't know how these countries are going to be affected and how it is going to affect your company. Not only that, right? This may be the curve that is happening with your customers. Your customers may recover after a V notch. Right? Some customers will go through an L curve. So then what is going to happen to your business? This may be what is happening to your suppliers. We don't know. Therefore, it is very, very important to think. So what is going to happen is a very complicated integration of interaction of all these different countries who is going to react like this, and different companies that is going to react like this, and different individuals who is going to react like this. So that is how the future is going to be decided. So having said that, now let me take you through where we started. So we started by taking a quick look of what was happening many months back, what our lifestyles were. And then we started thinking, okay, what really happened with the crisis? What is the impact that it had on our lifestyles? And then beyond that, now we want to say we are in a crisis and we want to find a solution. When we want to find a solution, the important thing that we realize is, yes, we need to find a solution to the battle. We need to get out of the battle, but that solution will be based on not only a financial immediate solution, but that has to be a holistic solution. That is why we said it is a solution that will ensure not only our financial well-being, but financial, career, social, physical, and community well-being, so that it will be encompass a holistic life. Not only that, it not only should be encompassing the holistic life, but it should finally will not compromise what we finally want to achieve in our life. That is why I touched about the Ikigai. So then that is what the discussion we were having. And then in this discussion, then we looked at how we are going to take a numerical assessment of where you stand in terms of assets and the liabilities. and all the monies that you're going to be spending on in terms of your housing expenses, your family expenses, your vehicle related expenses, and your medical and other expenses, and then your loan repayment. And then you try to see how you're going to match your incomes and the expenses. And if you're going ahead with the rationalization of your expenses, what are the different actions that you can take to rationalize your expenses? And then when we look at this, all of this, finally, what we try to do, we need to find a solution to get out of the crisis and ensuring our happiness is not compromised. And I'm just going to share you something more to within the next couple of minutes. And you can see this very complicated equation that is appearing at the bottom of this. Actually, this is truly out of a research that someone has conducted. And this person, out of this very complicated research, he has found out that this is the equation of happiness, right? This is the equation that defines a person's happiness. But this is one way of thinking. But I want to also share with you another very pragmatic research that has been done many, many years ago, right? That has been done in the US. No, it's a very simple research that they have done. They have found 22 people who have met up with very serious near fatal accidents and who got permanently disabled, right? They have found 22 people like that who met up with serious accidents and got permanently disabled. And they have found another set of people, 26 people, have won the biggest lotteries, some of the biggest lotteries in US, right? So you had one pool of people who have got met up with serious accidents and who are permanently disabled. And they have found another group of people like who won the biggest lotteries. And then you know what the research is about. They have done a research and have done a study to identify whether these people were happy before the incident that they faced and whether they are happy after the incident that they have faced. At the point. So we have taken two groups of people who have gone through completely different experiences, and the research was all about whether they were happy before the incident and whether they are happy after the incident. And you know the outcome of the research, and the outcome of the research very clearly say whether they are happy now after the incident is not dependent on whether they met up with a disabling accident or whether they won the biggest lottery. It is not dependent on that. The people who were happy before the incident, they are happy after the incident as well. And the people who were unhappy even before winning the lottery, they are unhappy even after winning the lottery. So that's the real outcome of the research. That's very, very important to realize, because sometimes we tend to think that the moment I do this, when the moment I find this job, I will be happy. The moment I find this partner, I will be happy. The moment I buy this vehicle, I'll be happy. The moment I buy an apartment in this place, I'll be happy. And then we attach our happiness to so many things that you're going to acquire in our life. But then it is not an equation. It is not a mathematical equation which will depend on what we have, right? It is an art that we need to master the whole of our life. So if you master this art, whatever that will be fight, that the battle that you're fighting, but still ultimately we will win the war, right? If not, every day you'll be fighting battles, and you may be winning some battles, but at the end of the day, when you think back when you want to leave, if you think back, you will not think that you are a happy person. So therefore, that's the important thing that you need to keep in mind. So before winding up, it's very, very important to realize that now, if you take 6 months back, 5 months back, we were all very free and we were flying and we were enjoying our lifestyle with lots of resources that we had, right? We were flying high up in the sky. But however, the situation has changed, right? Now we can't fly. But what is more important is if you can't fly, then you should try to run. If you can't fly, you should try to run. And you feel you still can't run, then you should try to walk. And you think that you can't even walk, you should try to see whether you can crawl. The most important thing is you need to keep moving. You need to keep moving, think the right direction, and then finding the solution at the end of the day is not in anybody's hand. It is only in your hand, and you are the final decider. You are the person who is going to decide on your future, and some instance the future of so many other people around you and dependent on you as well. So that's what I want to share with you. I think that I shared something which is useful to all of us. So it's just time to go back and think and see how we are going to change, what changes that you're going to make to your life. Thank you. I'm just finishing it. I'm going to hand it over to Rotary. Just you can take over. Thank you.
Yes, next is a Q&A session. So you could direct your questions if you have to our Rotarian Kapil Ramgoda with regard to winning the battle and the war, create a winning financial plan. You can shoot your whatever the queries you have.
You can unmute yourself and
You
ask
have
the
a
question.
Yeah. Nagul, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. First
Please
of
go
all,
ahead.
first of all, thank you for the Rotarians and Mr. Kapila. I saw this post on LinkedIn, so I thought to come and join. Actually, I'm talking from Papua New Guinea. Sir, the question is, sir, that I am planning to come back to my country due to this COVID, that they are laying off jobs. So I'm currently running a Facebook page. I'm teaching IELTS online. So I just thought to develop for next 6 months. I'm coming back to the country. So your tables and everything is very good, useful. But is there any other special strategy that you would like to tell me, that when I'm coming back to the country, what are the things I should consider in terms of financial, like, balancing,
So when you say, yeah, you have already decided to come back to the country, or you are deciding whether you should come back to the country?
Already decided within the next 6 months. So I will come back.
Hello?
Next 6 months, I will come back. Like by December, I'll leave from here.
Okay, right. Now, only thing is, like, there are lots of variables in the equation, but one thing that you can do is, if you're planning a 6 months horizon, probably what you can do is, if you're trying to teach this particular program, like say you can start while you're there, you should be able to develop some platform, and then just try and see whether you can, wherever that is Sri Lanka, or if you are depending on whether you are going to plan selling this program in Sri Lanka or any other country, just try to create some platform, and then just try to, at least with some known parties, even offering it free, just try to run it for a while and see how it can happen. And because there are different platforms that you can use, which platform you're going to use, how we are going to use that. At the same time, there are different ways to monetize, to convert this into money. I think it's very, very important to do that, because now definitely this sort of programs will have opportunities, but at the same time, we should not be in a rush as well. So therefore, good time, because you are trying to take 6 months before you come here, start acting on it now itself, right? Just try to create material and try to create a platform, or join with someone who already has a platform and start delivering to people who are known to you, and see whether how it is going to be, how it is going to be accepted. And then also, depending on that, you can make fine-tuning to the product, so that when you're here, you have your business model set. Your business model, the pricing, your material, everything will be set. That is the advice I think I can give. Especially developing material for online is also going to take quite a lot of time, because since I am into teaching, I also know. So especially if you're trying to teach first time online, you're going to spend a lot of time. I think this is a good investment that you can do during this time, is do that and get your model working, so that when you come here, you can launch it. Because otherwise, when you come here, when you start launching, so then that's going to be bit difficult. At the same time, the inclination to use online learning is very high now, but we need to watch and see within the next 6 months to 1 year. Certain areas it can be improved drastically, but certain areas that interest may dilute when time comes, when the normal physical activities start. So therefore, that also we need to think through. carefully. But then you can have both options ready so that when you come, you are not going to be losing.
Okay,
Hope
sir.
I
Thank you.
answered.
Yes, sir. You clearly answered.
Sure.
And I'm not going to ask another question, but
Thank you
if I
for
can
joining
get this-
anyway from Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Sorry?
Is it possible to get the presentation, sir?
Anyway, this video will be there, and then if you can, for all those who are in this presentation, we don't have your email addresses. You can either log into our the Facebooks. It is available in the Facebook, as well as you can type your email address. We will share with you because it's there on our web page as well. Whatever that we have, we will share with you. If you want to see, if you feel that you need it, just type your email address. So then we will share it with you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Kapila, we have another question coming in from Nilanga Pereira. Can you
Yes.
give some possible examples for cost cutting?
Cost cutting in the sense it's difficult question. Is a personal point of view or from company's point of view?
We are getting this question
Nilanga,
from
I
the
think
chat.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kapila, hi. No, what I wanted to know
Hi,
was
Nilanga, yeah.
from a personal point of view, like, you have said some costs you can cut 100%, 50%. So how do you distinguish between them? And it will be different for each person, but if you can give some general examples, that would be great.
Yeah, actually, Nilanga, I think this is what I try to address here, right? Just let me take a minute, right? This is if we take a look at this now, say some of the things that I try to indicate here is, I mean, say this is probably the line of thinking that you can have. Say in terms of if you are planning certain things, some major purchases, right? So any capital expenditure, large spendings. So that is one area that you can look at, right? And then sometimes we have different lifestyles, the way of living, the places that we go, the time we spend, and those are the things. And then the things that we consume, our brand names, whatever the type of products that you have, right? And then, like I told you, instead of that natural food, where you eat and what you eat, those are the things. And then, of course, the other, like say psychological things, like I told, the credit card usages and all that. And then, so these are the things probably in terms of our day-to-day expenses. Some of these are things. Say other than that, generic sense in terms of where you travel and those things, the food, clothing, lot of things. It's very difficult to say this is the framework probably that you can use, and depending on, say, someone who is not already spending a lot of things on luxurious things, probably you may not be able to cut down those things, but someone else who is doing that may be able to cut down on certain other things as well. So just go through the list and then figure out, depending on these areas, is only for food for thinking for you to start looking at that.
Okay, right, Kapila. I think the main categories would be essential and unessential. At least if you can categorize into those two categories, then you will be able to tick these boxes.
Yes, and also, yeah, and that's also now this where now say we this show this Maslow's thing. Probably now say these are the things that you can't cut down really, most of the things, the physiological and this part. But then these are the areas where you can cut down certain things. So therefore, this is another approach. I think that is also there. But now this hierarchy is also something bit theoretical though, but then this is also something, that perspective, that the framework that you can use, Nilanga.
Yeah. Thanks, Kapila. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilanga.
Yeah, thanks. Okay.
I think Rotarian Tissa has a question. Tissa, you can direct your question.
Yes, sir.
Can someone unmute me?
We can hear you. We can hear you. You are already unmuted. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you unmuted already.
Okay, Kapila.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for the in-depth, detailed, journey that you took us to how to manage finances in difficult times. Now, you took this cutting down and managing cost part. Finances part is the starting point for any challenging situation, and you explain in details what is to be done, what is not to be done. Now, my question is, what is your advice on generating the new income stream, revenue stream? Because first place where we go for refuge in challenging time is to cut down or manage. Now, what is your advice on us how to come up with creative way of generating new income? Because some people have found a lot of ways to make extra money while is cutting down one part to generate a new stream. They have changed their job. They have completely upside down their income streams, and they are venturing into places where they have never been. What is your advice on us? What direction that we need to generate new income while is managing and cutting down what we have already?
Yeah, I think again, yeah, that's a very interesting question. That is very true, because now this cutting down is one area, and then also know that our income is also going to be degenerated in certain areas. But now that is where I think that, remember that slide that we use, like say how we are going to react to this situation, whether they are going to in the learning zone or the growth zone. That is where I think the opportunities are going to be. One thing is that you need to start believing in, yes, this is not the end of the world, like, you know, because it's very important right now. If you take these very important statistics, the proper statistic, and what they have found is out of the Forbes 500 list, right, the current Forbes 500 list, more than 500 companies, more than 50% of the companies are the companies that have been started immediately after 2009 financial crisis. Out of the best Forbes, according to the Forbes list, the best 500 companies, more than 50% have been started immediately after the crisis, right? So therefore, one thing is, I think when you look at that, my personal thinking, right, there are so many approaches to this. One thing is your attitude, right? We need to have the proper attitude that, like, it is not the end of the world, right? Always the best opportunities will come out of the crisis, and the best risk that you can take is the time that nobody else is going to take that risk, would be the best time for you to take the risk. But that is one thing. And then to do that, yes, now we need to be a person who is positive, looking at the opportunity. The other one is you need to keep looking for opportunities, isn't it? Like this time, I don't know, most of us have been doing it now, because we are mastering so many different skills that we did not have, right? So then that itself can create opportunities. Like say we are having this meeting on Zoom, and today we had a discussion, and within these 2 days we learned a lot. But 1 week before the crisis, I have not even used Zoom, right? But 1 week after the crisis, I have started offering all our educational program using Zoom, using a platform that I never used in my life. We started offering teaching, learning, teaching, all that has happened. And now that has, I'm just telling you, now having gone through that, now we have realized how you can use this platform, how good you are, how bad you are as a presenter. And now I see opportunities, so many programs that you were offering in Sri Lanka, actually already in discussion. Now there are opportunities to offer them outside Sri Lanka, right? So this is why I'm saying within my scope of activity. So that is one thing that you can do. So rather than wasting this time, use this time productively in the areas that we operate, and that naturally that will give you new knowledge and skills, and then keep talking to people who will think similar to, not talking to the people who are negative and who think that it is the end of the world, but people who feel that, who are eager to learn something, like the group that we're having, and try to find ideas. So then that will give you so many opportunities if you work with positive people. So the number one, right, be positive and be with positive people who come up with positive ideas, and keep learning, keep changing, and learn new skills that is going to be helpful. At the same time, if you keep watching actually so many media, so you see people getting into a lot of stories, like the people who have a network, you may use that same network, information network, to offer completely different products. Like, so that of course then your industry base and all that, keep watching, and you see so many different industries, new business models, especially virtual business models that are offering so many things that we were using physical space. Now people will be using physical supply chain, physical space, physical infrastructure, and we'll be doing the same thing using the virtual space. I think that should be the way. So keep looking. Other than that, keep looking, keep talking to people who do things, and keep talking to people who do new things, and keep watching what is happening around the world. And then I think, I'm sure we can come up with a lot of ideas. And within the last couple of weeks, within Rotary itself, we have come up with so many different ideas, so which we can execute, right? One day we were having a chat with Dinesh, 12:10 in the night. He came up with a fantastic kind of business idea, which we thought, yes, that is something that we can take forward, and we are very serious about that, right? So that's, I think, probably my answer. Tissa, you yourself also can say something, add something to this, I think.
Thank you, Kapila. Thanks.
Okay, Kapila, we have another question. I think he's asking about your opinion. How about investing in local stock market in turbulent times?
That is a very good question. Now, of course, I'm not going to take too much time, but actually a couple of months before, because I did some investment in 2009 just before the the war ended, right? And then that was a fantastic time to come up with huge gains, 3 to 4 times gains. There was a fantastic time, right? And then also, this is my personal experience, just before this election period, always before and after the election, there were certain things happening. So then we made some investment. Of course, after the election, so there were gains, but actually due to so many other reasons, right, the market behavior was different. So then actually this time I made a conscious decision. I'm only investing in solid businesses, right? Solid long-term growth, prospective businesses, and nothing to do with panic and then, speculative stocks, right? Because then there was hardly any way that those stocks could bring losses. But just to see that after this crisis situation happened, all these fantastic stocks, right, they failed. Right now, for me, I would have lost probably 30%. Of course, I was ready in psychologically to lose that amount. And that is why I invested. I decided how much I can lose, and I can sleep properly without thinking of that. So therefore, there's no issue. But then that is what happened. So my brother asked the same question. Yeah, is it the right time to start investing now? And probably what I say is, just when everybody is thinking negatively, that could be the good thing to start. But then again, you can never say how it is going to continue. But my personal thing is, probably if you feel that you are not going to, it is not the money that you're going to use for your living or anything like that, the surplus that you have when you want to take a risk, probably you can start thinking of that, but don't invest in. Probably if you have an amount that you feel that you can invest in the long term, probably 10% of that you can invest now, or 20% of that you can invest now, because then you can see how things are going to happen and then you can change your strategy. So therefore, so that is probably what I can say. Yes, now if it is the hard-earned money, that is you depend your retirement income or your EPF or anything like that, someone is having got what you got by after selling a land or something like that. So be very careful. But otherwise, it is the money that you want to invest and grow. And if you are still young, yes, then you can probably start investing now and then see how the equation is going to happen. Because this is the time when everybody else, the common herds are not buying. That is the time that you can buy, but you need to do very carefully. That's, I think, that's my view. Right? Of course, if someone who else is very much experienced in investing in the stock market, they can bring their sense to this. This is what I personally feel. Probably you can do something, but depending on your circumstances, but not in a major way.
Kapila, can I add to it?
Yes, please.
This is the time to invest your time on Rotary so you can grow in multiple ways. A different perspective.
What else can we expect from Dinesh?
Yeah, at the same
Right.
time, it is time to invest on Rotary as well. It's the time to invest on us, right? Just start contemplating what you spend, how you think. I don't know. Just I developed a lot of new habits, trying to get up early, meditation in the morning, lots of things, and then it open up your mind, and then also the clearer you see things, and you can do more things. I think it is very important. Dinesh said is true, but at the same time, investing in yourself is the best thing that you can do. You will never get the time to invest in yourself like this. The time I thought I would after retirement, certain things I thought that I would start thinking, I started thinking now. There is a fantastic opportunity to invest in yourself. Again, invest in Rotary. That will bring you happiness, and that will bring you business as well.
Okay, if anyone is having any more
So,
questions, I think we
is
can
that
give
okay?
about another
No,
5 minutes.
It's time up for the questions. I think we are on, we have catered for the questions. The time is running up. So thank you, our charter member, Rotarian Kapila Dodanggoda, for, giving macro view during the crisis situation, how to create a winning financial plan. He gave the very new insight. At this moment, I request our Rotarian Danushka to sum up the presentation.
Thank you, President Kishan.
So, President Kishan welcomes all visiting Rotarians, EMA students, road tractors, and all the keen in joining this meeting. Then, past President Rotarian Kapila's achievements. Thank you, Rotarian Kapila, for running through the last few days of our social freedom, reminding us that the world has paused for 2 months. We never admired the true beauty of life due to our previous busy schedule. Now we take a minute to realize the true beauty. The path ahead is a battlefield, and we need to find our own path to fight through. In how we respond to this situation, 3 categories of people who are: one in the fear zone, the other in the learning zone, and the other in the growth zone. Financial well-being is aligning your lifestyle with your finances. They need to know to manage or change your lifestyle. Being rich in what you feel grateful rather than the assets you have. Financial well-being without compromising on your career well-being. Finding your ikigai, balanced well-being. Where do you stand financially? Start looking at your liabilities. The monthly average expenditure, identifying the 5 main expenses. Home expenses, the first pool. Family-related expenses, the second pool. Vehicle and transport expenses, third pool. Medical, leisure, and entertainment, fourth pool. And an assessment of loan and other installments. The projection of monthly incomes, the income flow, monthly net cash flow before loan repayment and after repayment. Settlement of immediate and urgent commitments, cutting down on the things that bring stress. Live without the things that could never be without. How to rationalize your expenses, taking certain percentage. The 10 most points that you explained with regard to rationalization: delay in all major purchases, few changes in lifestyles rather than major ones. Brand names don't matter or the place of shopping. Goodness of health is cheaper than nutritious. Try without some luxuries. Goodbye to credit cards and only pay by cash. Because you used to do something, you don't need to continue. Simplify your beauty regime. Air conditioners and heaters are added extras. You can always use your own lunch and own coffee rather than buying from out. Crisis timeline, in which case cannot be limited for a year. So we need to plan ahead. Showing in graphics with regard to the countries such as US, Canada, and Greece at the point of 2009 global recession. At the end of the day, keep moving on and not to stay in one place. Thank you very much, Rotarian Kapila.
Thank you, Danushka. All ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you, this is the 3rd presentation we coordinated as well as conducted by our members, Rotary members, especially the Rotary Club of Colombo Centennial members. And our 4th presentation is really, we were planning to have it on coming Saturday, but unfortunately due to unforeseen engagement, especially our district club is conducting one of their major programs. Thereby, we have postponed it to coming Wednesday. We will let you know our next guest speaker. He's all from the Rotary. Keep the date free the coming Wednesday evening at the same time. Meantime, the paying gratitude is in our culture. That's one of our most valuable ethics. Thereby, I kindly request our Protract United President Yoshana to do the honors, please.
Thank you, Rotarian Kishan. So on behalf of the Rotary Club of Colombo Centennial and Rotary Club of Centennial United, I take this opportunity to thank our charter member, Rotarian Kapila Dodamgoda, for doing a wonderful session on managing personal finances, which I think is a very timely topic because after a few days, we'll be entering a fresh new world. There'll be so many changes with the consumption and expenses that will be incurring. So this is because at the end of the day, we as people, we need to understand how to rationalize, as you said, and prioritize our expenses. We need to know what we'll be spending upon. So thank you once again for sparing your time for a wonderful and a very detailed presentation. And also thank you to all Rotarians and Rotractors, especially the Rotarians who joined from overseas. I hope this session was a very insightful session, and I hope you all took important points for your lives. And thank you once again to all of you, and see you at the next session.
Thank you, Ashana. Again, I thank all the Rotarians who joined through the Zoom, as well as from the overseas, as well as the members from the Academy of Finance, as well as the overseas students. At this moment, I declare the meeting adjourned officially, and after that, we will we will assemble for the rest of the proceeding space.
Thank you, Kapila. Good presentation.
Thank you, Kapila.
Thank you, Kapila. Excellent.
Niti, you didn't ask a question. The meeting is not complete without a question from Nitya Murugesh.
It was so complete that I have to ask.
Complete package.
Complete package, yeah.
Something is missing, huh?
Hello, Prashant Lal. Nice to see you. Vishwa, nice to see you after a long time.
Hi, Niti.
Hi. Have a sleek salon and Vajra salon all open now.
You are telling that to me.
He's going to Capello.
Okay.
Is there any overseas Rotarians or any other person who are still there?
Dinesh, why don't the videos are open now? It's blocked.
No, you can open yourself if you want to.
No, I can't.
Now you
We
open.
can listen to you.
So, one moment, shall we ask the recording to be stopped now?
Yeah, better.
Yeah.